You just have to figure out how to play with the cards you've been dealt. And over the past 2 years, I've truly been able to take every hardship and adversity and use it to my advantage. And so I just believe that like God put me in this place at this time for a reason. And now I'm just trying to figure out what that reason is. I will say the first year after my parents went to prison, it was really difficult because so many people, so many companies, I mean, they just wiped their hands clean. People we had contracts with, production company, you name it, they all handled the situation in a really way because we signed another deal after the federal indictment came down. Like we signed another deal for multiple seasons of a show. So they were very aware of what was going on. And then the moment the guilty verdict came down, everyone wiped their hands clean, and it was a fight from there. And for the first year, I had to prove myself that, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to not only provide for myself, but my family, and I'm here to get my parents back. And I started my real estate company, and it was tough because once again, I was starting over. And never in a million years did I think, all right, I'm gonna be starting over after having the same job for 10 years. And now I have 2 kids to raise. And that's who I looked at every single day. Those were the 2 things. I looked them in the eyes every single day and knew that I couldn't give up and knew I had to fight. We thought it was gonna end differently. We really thought it would end differently. We had lawyers who had told us it was going to end differently. And then even after the guilty verdict came down, we immediately appealed it. We're like, all right, something's going to happen. And no one ever thought it was going to end the way it did. So I don't think anyone was prepared. No one prepared me by any means. But I think both my parents were in such shock. And I could never imagine being a parent and having to give my child over to someone else. I don't want that for anyone, but that's what happened here. And so I just took it as it came. I'll never forget when I got back from dropping my dad off, and I went to their house, and everyone just started gathering up the kids' stuff to bring to my house. And I think it was maybe later that week, we got a call that we would be allowed to visit for the first time. And I just remember like Chloe's room was a mess. I didn't know what you had to wear. Like they're super strict on guidelines for visitation wardrobe. And I just remember like falling to the floor, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm not my mom. I cannot do this. And I then just sat there and I was like, if I don't do it, who else will? And I picked myself up, got their clothes, and we went on our way. And I think that was really like the main breakdown that I had. And then from there, it's just, you figure it out. My heart, honestly, it breaks for Chloe because Chloe has not had an easy upbringing. And her biological parents turned their backs on her from a very young age. She was not treated properly. I mean, we have documentation to show from pediatricians that she was not being cared for, and it was terrible. And so when my parents got custody of her, and then her biological father completely out of the picture, mother out of the picture, and that was by their choice. And Chloe, the only mother and father she's known is my mom and dad, and she calls them mom, dad, and so she had to endure the loss of parents twice. And so she struggles tremendously with those things. And we've made a lot of progress. She's in therapy every single week. She's with the proper doctors, and I've made sure that no matter what, she has the proper care around her. But it's still difficult. Me, Chloe, and Grayson, it's like we're the 3 best friends. It's all 3 of us, and we just tackle everything together. And Grayson, never in a million years, I say, so many times he said, like, you saved me. I don't know where I would be without you. I don't know what Chloe and I would have done without you. But he says that, but I look at him and I'm like, he saved me more times than I can count. And he had to grow up so fast, and I hate it. But at the same time, this whole situation has taught him how cruel the world can be and how you have to protect yourself. And as cruel as it's been, he also has kept this softness about him, and he's in therapy every single week. And I just love to see the heart that he has and how he's shown up. And that's how you want any man in your life to be, is to show up for you and show up well and show up even when they get it wrong. And he's learning those lessons at 16 years old, you know, when all this happened. And now he's 18, and it's just, I could not be more proud.
What helps these men and women in custody and what helps to reduce recidivism is interaction with the outside world, interaction with your family.
I would say probably a year after my parents left, I just became very outspoken because I knew nothing about our criminal justice system. I honestly thought bad people go to prison. Like, that's what I thought. And that is so far from the truth. I grew up in the South to where you live, breathe, die our country. You respect our flag, you respect our nation, you respect our police force. You believe everything that they say it is. And now I don't. I believe nothing. My eyes have been open to what actually happens in our criminal justice system. And I've seen so many men and women that are in these facilities who are being abused, who are being served food that says not for human consumption. There's black mold, asbestos, lead-based paint. I mean, the Bureau of Prisons is beyond broken and needs to be completely dismantled and built back from the ground up. And when I started realizing these things, I just knew, like, I can't stay silent about it any longer. I have to come out about it. And I think the first people to have me on, I think it was Fox News.
The Bureau of Prisons, all 123 institutions, are in need of over $2 billion worth of repairs.
I went on Fox News, and they, because I was outspoken on my Instagram, and they saw it and it garnered millions of views, so they asked to have me on, and we spoke about prison conditions, and it opened a lot of people's eyes. It caught the Bureau of Prisons' attention. They stated that what I said was not accurate and basically called me a liar. And then I called them out and said I would be careful who I call a liar because I have the documentation to back it up. And so I have photos, I have audio recordings, I have it all. And Fox News picked it up, News Nation, I went on Chris Cuomo. All these news outlets wanted me on. Good Morning America touched on it. And then CPAC actually invited me out to speak at their event in DC, and they were the first political affiliated organization that reached out to me. And once CPAC gave me that platform, I had senators reaching out to me, congressmen and governors, and I believe criminal justice isn't a left or right issue. It's a humanity issue.
At FPC Pensacola, where my dad is, that is the federal prison camp in Pensacola, Florida. There is so much corruption going on at the hands of the warden and a lot of people high up.
They're struggling. I mean, it's not easy. It's also not easy because I have been very outspoken. So especially at my dad's facility in Pensacola, these correctional officers, they love to take that little bit of power they have, and they're the most egotistical people I think I've ever come in contact with. And so anytime I'm outspoken, they take it out on him, which he's strong, he can handle it. He can be uncomfortable if it means we change millions of people's lives. So we're okay with that. The retaliation shouldn't happen, but it does. And they didn't give him a coat for the winter. They try to confiscate all the stuff that he buys from commissary. They target him for many different reasons. They removed him from his job at the chapel. Just because of all the corruption we've exposed there. And now that facility is closing down due to everything that I've exposed. My mom, they don't get to speak. So it's been 2 years and they haven't spoken a word to each other. They've been together almost 30 years and they've never gone a day in their life without being with one another. And that's been a challenge. That should never happen. You have the Bureau of Prisons that says they strive to keep families together. That's what they love to quote. That is so far from the truth. They make it almost impossible for you to communicate with loved ones. They make it almost impossible to visit. They don't make anything easy, and there should never be a time to where they keep them from communicating. And they do. They interfere with emails. They interfere with mail. There was mail theft and fraud at my dad's facility that I'm still not going to allow that person to get away with. And now that I have worked with President Trump's team, I'm bringing all of this to his awareness, and it sucks. It sucks that my parents are going through what they're going through, but like I said, we're gonna take this and make something great out of it.
All right, guys, welcome to Unlocked with me, Savannah Chrisley. I am so excited.
My podcast, it's giving me a job to provide for my family. And that's the number one thing that I'm like so grateful for, is that when one door closed, another door opened. And I will forever be grateful for that. But it's just given me a louder voice. I think growing up on TV from such a young age, I was always told what to do, how to act. It didn't matter if I was having the roughest day possible. Our show was more of a comedy. You had to walk out the door, put a smile on your face, make people laugh. Any serious situation, we would always be forced to turn it into something funny. And once the show ended, I was like, now is my time to finally tell my truth and stand in my truth. No matter how hard it may be, no matter how bad it may look, I'm going to stand in what I know to be the truth. And that's what Unlocked has given me. It's given me a platform to tell the truth and to just give other people a safe space to tell their truth, no matter what that looks like. And on my podcast, I've told every guest that has come on, you can review everything before it goes out. And trust me, there are some times that I'm like, no, because they take out such good stuff, but I don't ever want to be a source of someone else's hurt. So if they say something they wish they wouldn't have said, I don't want to be the one to use that as clickbait for something. I want to give people a safe space to come, because people didn't really give me that. Make no bones about it, I slid into Robert's DMs. I am not shy in case anyone, had any questions about that. But when Robert and I, the big thing, and I want to make sure I say this with as much love and respect as possible. But Robert and I started dating August 17th of 2023, and Nick passed away later in September. And I truly was heartbroken, devastated. I had so many regrets of things I had said publicly and things I wish I could have apologized for, and just conversations that Nick and I never got to have. And I was visiting my dad, and I walked in and he just automatically knew, and I just broke down. He knew something was wrong. And he was just devastated and heartbroken, and we sat there and we cried all day together, and Chloe and Grayson were with me. And right after that, when you go and visit, you don't have phones, you're not allowed any electronics. And before I went in, I just texted Robert and I just said, Nick died. That's all I said. And keep in mind, we had been dating a month. Literally been dating a month. So he reached out to my publicist, Alexa, and best friend, Tyler, and was like, hey guys, how do I show up for her? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, but just let me know if there's anything I can do. And at that time, his kids were at their grandparents, and he went and picked them up and took them back home. And he got on his plane and flew to Pensacola. And he was there when I got out of visitation, and he sent me a text and said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm here. I got you guys food, and I just want to get you home. And he took me and the kids home. And I have pictures of that day of he and Chloe playing rock, paper, scissors on the plane. And when we got home, I was like, I just want to go to where it happened. I just have to see it for myself. And so we went, and it was me, Tyler, Pamela, and Michaela, and Tyler's dad was there, and Robert he drove us there, and I had a bunch of flowers. And when we went to leave, we were standing at the stop sign, and Robert walks up next to me and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I say a prayer for Nick and his family?" And in that moment, I was like, this is the type of person you want to spend the rest of your life with. Like, someone who shows up for you and shows up for you well in situations like that. And I'm also grieving the loss of someone that I loved with all my heart, as much as we went through a lot of together, Nick and I did. And after a few weeks, I told Robert, I was like, I promise, I'll stop talking about it. Like, I just have to go through my process. And Robert's exact words were like, "You weren't my first love and I wasn't yours, but we can be each other's last." And I just saw the emotional maturity in him and how he showed up, and how, he could have easily ran. I mean, this is a month into us dating. And just the way that he shows up on a day-to-day basis, and the type of father that he is, and how he guides people through every hardship and adversity. It's just like a best friend, teammate that you want. And it's so many comments of people being like, "Oh, they're trauma bonding." And it's like, first, like, I can so see how people could see that. We're both going through really tough times in our life. But we've also made it a point to not do that, because we don't want our circumstances to define our relationship. So we get to be a good, escape for each other and the worlds that we live in. But that's the person you want to be with. You want to be with someone who loves people and loves people well, and just has the same goals and wants out of life. I've gone through a lot of in my life. I really have. And I've gone through a lot of things that I've never even publicly spoken about. And I also think when you fight silent battles, resilience just comes. When you fight silent battles, there was no one that was there for you. Whether you didn't allow someone to be there for you, or whether you just didn't have people there, you just learned to pick yourself up. And I come from a place, my dad was very much just like, "Come on, we can do this, we can do this. You can do anything a man can do, if not better." My dad was a constant encourager in that way. And it just comes, I think, by having that encouragement, also knowing that I don't ever want to give up, and I want to give my future children something to look at and be proud of. I have such a fight mentality in me. I'm a Leo, to its core. So I just don't give up. And resiliency, I think it comes too with realizing it's okay to not be okay. And that's how I had to get with myself, was like, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay. I have done very intensive therapy programs the past few years. And it's something that should be more normalized. 10 years from now, I hope that the businesses I have created are thriving, and I have sold them, and I have enough money to truly make a difference in this world. I don't want money for the handbags, for the shoes, for the whatever. I love those things, great, but I want to be able to put money on all these men and women's commissary accounts that don't get any food. I want to be able to pay for their family members to visit them because they don't have the finances to do it. I want to be able to pay people's legal bills who have been wrongfully convicted. I want to start my own organization to truly make a difference in people's lives. And so 10 years from now, I hope that I was a successful entrepreneur. But more than that, I hope that I'm a mom that's teaching my kids to give back and to love people well, to make a difference in this world. I hope the number one thing I'm known for is impacting people's lives, and that people can look in a book and say, because of her, this happened.